Alright, so I'm gonna show you guys how to play Tayuya. You guys have been asking me this all over, my social media like YouTube, Twitch, Discord, and I think even on PlayStation 2. I think people just be asking me how to play Tayuya, and they really want to learn this character, and I'm very happy to hear that people want to learn my main character, Tayuya. Um, Honestly, I think it's because they want to make people mad. Or they want to learn this new playstyle they've never really seen before. Tayuya. Um, so I'm going to show you guys how to play a Tayuya. I'm going to show you guys her setups. I'm going to show you guys what you actually use all those dokis for. And join the 𝓝𝓪𝓻𝓾𝓽𝓸 Discord if you haven't already. I'm going to say that right now I'm using one of the best teams to learn Tayuya with. So that's 𝓝𝓪𝓻𝓾𝓽𝓸 Choji, 𝓝𝓪𝓻𝓾𝓽𝓸 Choji, by the way, because 𝓝𝓪𝓻𝓾𝓽𝓸 Choji has a really smaller hitbox in Awakening, and that's kind of it. So 𝓝𝓪𝓻𝓾𝓽𝓸, 𝓝𝓪𝓻𝓾𝓽𝓸 Choji, and Tayuya. And there's obviously more better teams when you're using Tayuya. Uh, if you feel like you don't want to really use this team, you can always replace Choji with some other characters like Temari or some strikebacks, because I know that Tayuya also work with those sort of characters too. You don't even have to play this whole Tayuya team in general. You could literally play other Tayuya teams. You don't have to play Dash Cut with Tayuya, but you kind of can, because she's really powerful with Dash Cut. Especially with Choji. Not really any other Dash Cut except for Night Guy, but just really Choji Dash Cut, because Choji Dash Cut is really annoying, and he's kind of like the meta right now. So yeah. So when we're gonna get on to Tayuya's jutsu, because when we start off a character, we always have to start off her jutsu. Alright, so we're gonna take a look at Tayuya's jutsu. So I think it's Demon Flute. Yeah, it's Demon Flute Floating Note. Um, a really good jutsu. As you see, it moves very slowly. This jutsu is really good when you're using it in conjunction with your doki while you're using the combos, or if you're just behind the doki in general. Um, Tayuya is really good with using this jutsu, especially when your opponent's like very aggressive. So say I'm just like trying to run away or something, or if I'm trying to be aggressive, this jutsu is also like a combo extender too. Um, but like I said, when your opponent is super aggressive, you can always throw out this jutsu and go for doki combos too. Or if you want to just use them in conjunction with your doki combos, you can. Let me show you guys that. So if you're fighting with this claw doki, for example, you can just go for jutsu combos if you feel like that. It can rack up damage. This is a good jutsu to just throw out sometimes too. Like I said, when your opponent's being aggressive or they just don't really feel like moving. This jutsu is also really good for blocking other jutsus too. So if your opponent's using like Fireball Jutsu or like Danzo's Jutsu, for example, you can always use Tayuya's Jutsu in conjunction, just so you can stop like Danzo's Jutsu or like the Madara's Jutsu with the fire, with the expanding flame. So yeah, this jutsu is really good. This jutsu can be used as a support too. It's a really good like I said, it's a really good combo extender if you want to extend combos with, um, or even just get an ultimate power pill ultimate. You can just use Tayuya's jutsu. But the best way to use Tayuya's jutsu is obviously in conjunction with her dokis, especially when your opponent's aggressive. Not something to use all the time, but it is something to use like now and then, just so you can save up some chakra, or you just want to waste chakra and just start like getting more resources and stuff. Wasting your resources just to be more aggressive to your opponent. So yeah, that's Tayuya's jutsu. We're gonna go over her ultimate jutsu now. So her ultimate jutsu is Demon Flute. What was it? Flutes of Fantasia. Oh wait, hold on. Oh, Chains of Fantasia. So it's Demon Flute Chains of Fantasia. Now this jutsu, I'm gonna wait for this jutsu to play out. So I really like that ultimate. That ultimate's really good. It also knocks your opponent down, as you see. So if you're trying to switch into dokis or trying to like throw a shuriken to finish him off, you can do that with Tayuya, especially since Tayuya's shurikens do a lot of damage. It does more damage than any other player's shuriken. Because Tayuya is a square combo character. So I think what happened is instead of a square combo, like most square combo characters, you know how they have a square combo in midair or projectile combo in midair. Usually, usually they have like a whole sequence. But Tayuya, she doesn't. So I think they just gave her more damage in her shuriken, which is kind of busted because that shuriken damage can rack up, and your opponent can lose games just because that shuriken does a lot of damage over time. And yeah. So the reason why you want to use the ultimate jutsu is obviously good for ending games with, but it's only good for ending games when you're using your doki to get button lock. So if you're trying to go for combos, you can just use either two dokis. So these are the only two dokis you can use the ultimate jutsu with or cancel the ultimate jutsu with Tayuya. If you don't want to spend chakra, but if you want to spend chakra, you can obviously cancel with all dokis, especially with this one on the last hit. But I just don't recommend you doing that unless you really have to rev cancel with that claw doki or with any other doki, to be honest. That so that ultimate jutsu actually goes through all ultimates in the game. Not all ultimates, all other jutsus in the game. So like Inferno Fireball, uh, jutsu switch characters like Shisui, Danzo, that ultimate jutsu can go through all jutsus, so it's like Kamui basically. Your opponent can use the ultimate to like, I think to stop the ultimate too, but it's not really that useful if they're trying to do that. But yeah, that can happen, and like I said, it just goes through all ultimates, all jutsus in the game. It goes through all attacks in the game. So like, Sarda's second hit, or like the Mizukage's third water pellet hit, when she summons that water wall in her combo, it can go through that, and pretty good. I feel like it's the only ultimate jutsu that can go through everything in the game, except for Raikage, really. But I mean, like as that in a projectile. So, um, yeah. So that's Tayuya's ultimate jutsu. It's a really good jutsu to throw out when your opponent's very aggressive too, especially if they can't really stop their aggressiveness. Usually by like substitutions, or if they're like using like tilts and stuff, but they have no supports, or if they do have supports, but you ultimate jutsu close range, you can throw out that ultimate to do more damage. So yeah, that's Tayuya's ultimate jutsu. So the main thing you really want to, so the main reason why you want to play Tayuya is because of her dokis. Um, Tayuya's doki is really powerful, especially since it stops dashes. But I'm gonna go over why each doki has how you're gonna play each doki and how you should be playing each doki, because each doki is kind of important to how you play your game. Um, or especially when your opponent like counterpicks characters, each doki has a purpose to fight each character and each situation. So I'm gonna go over everything right now. So starting off with the claw doki. So the reason why you want to play the claw doki is if they don't have a check to Tayuya. So usually when people build teams, um, they try to build teams to check other characters or just to spam jutsus like Shisui, Danzo. But usually when they build teams, you have to build teams using for checks. That way you can check characters like puppets, Danzo, or even Shino. Because if you don't really have a check to that, they can just like overpower you, especially especially since they're long range characters. Um, so yeah, so when you're if they don't really have a check to Tayuya, you can always just run away with this doki and play health lead at the same time, because you can't. That is very a dominant strategy. If your opponent does not know how to like if your opponent does not really know how to team build, you can just use this doki and then just go for games very easily, especially with dash cut. But if your opponent really does have checks like Shisui, Danzo, usually PTS Gara, or even Madara sometimes. Yeah, if your opponent really does have those sort of checks, the best way to play this doki is close range. The reason why I say this doki is really good close range is because this doki is actually a really good poking tool, especially with really fast normal hits like that. It's faster than all the other dokis when they're trying to go for hits. So that's the only reason why you wouldn't play this doki. Like I said, if they do have checks, the best way to play this doki is close range and poke damage. The reason why you want to play poke damage and be close range with your opponent is because your opponent's going to be wasting resources, especially their health, trying to deal with a close range Tayuya. Usually they're going to try to ninja move a lot so they can get away from a close range Tayuya. And especially they can't even dash, so uh, like this doki just going for poke damage, uh, you know, doki combo into shuriken is really powerful. Just look how much, just look how much damage I just racked up with Tayuya. So yeah, just that sort of poke damage alone is really, really good to fight your opponent with, especially when you're using this doki. And just using your supports in conjunction with Tayuya's doki combos is just really powerful. If you're using this doki, obviously you can go for combo jutsu, close range, if you want to mix it up. If your opponent's going to try to sub, you can try to read it with a tilt, because that tilt actually hits like all around Tayuya, so if they try to sub that hit and dash, usually they could get hit by that tilt if you want to try to read them, but they can counter it, so be in mind they can counter Tayuya's tilt. But I'll talk more about her tilt because Tayuya's tilt has actually multiple features that you can use for it. Like Tayuya's tilt's really good, and I'm gonna go over that later in the video. So yeah, bottom line, this doki really good for poke damage. Just be up close with your opponent. You're gonna do a lot of damage. Make sure you're always behind your doki at the same time, because if you're behind your doki while you're fighting your opponent, they can't really dash a lot because Tayuya's dokis, they block dashes, which is very powerful. They're almost like dash cuts, but like extremely. They're like dash cuts, but like on steroids because they never fade away. Unless your opponent gets a strike back off of you. So if your opponent does have strike back, it does take away your dokis. So just keep that in mind. This doki is really powerful for close range. Yeah, and just running away. I wouldn't play running away when they have jutsu spamming characters, because if they have jutsu spamming characters and you're playing with this doki, then you don't really have a out to like long range. Unless you're playing characters like PTS Gara, which I do run PTS Gara with Tayuya, by the way, because I feel like Tayuya with PTS Gara is really powerful. That's just me. But yeah, this doki, just very good short range. That's all I'm gonna say about it, really. And just a good poke damage. Good for racking up damage. Just good for all that. Yeah, so let's go into the next doki. So this doki is really good for fighting those special type of characters. When I mean by special type of characters, I mean characters like puppets, square combo characters, Tayuyas and Kageyas, or even jutsu spamming teams. This doki is really good to fight that, because this doki just, it doesn't really move that much. If you just press the circle button, and it usually stuns your opponent too if they're trying to jutsu spam or anything. This doki is really good for fighting jump shuriken, so if your opponent is playing Minato and Tamari, you can use this doki. Because this doki can stop jump shuriken. That just, people just keep spamming it over and over. Better than this doki, in fact, because yeah. This doki is also good for like stopping your opponent from trying to go into awakening, except if they have like Neji or Nagato. They can go into awakening, but this doki is good to stop your opponent from going into awakening, because it just usually just stays there, and it stuns your opponent too, and you can get a button lock off if you do manage to hit them with the first hit. Right there, that's a button lock right there. So with the shuriken, so pretty decent. This doki is honestly my favorite doki because it's very underrated. This doki is really good for blocking an extra dash when your opponent's an awakening, especially with Susanoo. So if you're usually when you're fighting your opponent, they use you have to use this doki first, and then you switch into this doki because you can block an extra dash if they get around the claw doki. So yeah, that's really good too. This doki, you can just use this doki too, just in general, because this doki is just a mid-range combo doki, and you can just play around this doki. This doki is actually really good with Tamari and all that. So um, you can build teams around for this doki. This doki just is really good. Really good for the infinite combo too. So yeah, that's what this doki is used for. Usually mid-range, not really good for close range, but usually mid-range and trying to get distance off your opponent. That's what this doki is for. And they can't go above this doki. This doki is higher than the claw doki. So if you really want to just like stop your opponent when they're trying to like double jump, this doki is really good to stop this when your opponent's like really high in the air. It's just got a very big vertical hitbox. So enough about this doki, let's talk about this doki now. So this doki is doki bind. This doki, we usually call it the bandage doki. This doki is really good for chase. This doki is good for fighting 6-pass Madara. If you guys don't know, 6-pass Madara is, they can counter what Tayuya, they can counter everything Tayuya has to offer except for this doki, because Madara has got a really good ninja move, so they can just ninja move like everything Tayuya has. But if you're using this doki, you can play the chase game, and you can just use this doki just in case if your opponent's just running a lot, and you're picking up on that. You can play very aggressive, like super aggressively, with this doki, and this doki is really good for that. But if they're trying to play defensive and range at the same time, they can just like block the doki, and then they can just go for a dash usually. If they try to sub this doki, sometimes they get caught by it again in their combo. So just be in mind they can sub into this doki again if they just like hold the moving stick. But if they do sub it and they manage to evade the doki, just be in mind that they can just dash after they sub the hit. So you can just go for a jutsu usually, or this. This doki is really good in conjunction with Tayuya's dashes. So any doki is good with Tayuya's dash. So if you're fighting your opponent and they're trying to like move a lot, always use Tayuya's doki with a dash, because that's a very aggressive way to use Tayuya, and your opponent's not going to really get away a lot. Especially in conjunction with your doki combos, and this doki happens to be one of the best uses of it. So if your opponent's trying to like get away, just you can play very aggressive with this doki. Yeah. This doki is easily like the second best, I would kind of say. But yeah, this doki, really good for chasing your opponent, really good for playing super aggressive. If your opponent has a huge life lead, you can always use that doki too. That doki is really good for finishing off games too, so just be in mind, if you're trying to go for games, you can always use this doki, because it's really good for finishing off games too. And it's really good for using, this is the best doki to use your supports with. Yeah, to play aggressively. But if your opponent, if you don't want to be that aggressive, if you want to be passive aggressive, and you can just always use this doki, obviously go for poke damage, and you can just rack up damage really good, especially if your opponent has more resources than you, like substitutions or chakra. You can always use this doki and be passive aggressive. Yeah, so that's all of Tayuya's dokis. Let's get into her square combos and her neutral combos. So Tayuya's square combos, the reason why you want to use Tayuya's circle combos, my bad. So we're going to start off with the square circle combos. The reason why you want to use that is because sometimes you're going to be switching out of Tayuya, because you can't just stay with Tayuya all the time. Sometimes you're going to have to switch out with her to be more aggressive. That's just how it works. This game you can't just use one character and play normally, unless you're playing puppets. But even with puppets, sometimes you do have to switch out and be even more aggressive, get like super aggressively. So you're gonna start off with using her neutral combos, and the reason why you want to use her neutral combos is because sometimes you don't want to, if you're trying to be aggressive with Tayuya, sometimes you don't want to just pull out a doki because they can just play around that by just spamming jutsus and making you waste subs. So sometimes you do have to play aggressive with Tayuya. That's just how it is. And yeah, but even though you're using her circle combos or her regular combos, you can go for button lock combos, and you can also start up the infinite combo with that. So let me show you her full hit. That full hit can go into a strike back. So yeah, just keep that in mind. But her button lock is her third hit, so if you're trying to do the button lock, it's the third hit, and then you call out a doki. So I'm gonna show you what that looks like. So oops, I did a tilt. Oops, did it wrong. And that's the button lock right there, so I'm gonna show you guys again. Going into the third hit, it's the button lock, and I usually like to switch into this doki or this doki because I can go for an infinite combo, which I'll show you guys later in the video. So yeah, that's what the neutral combo can be used for. Sometimes you want to go into strike back with Tayuya. You can't just use the neutral combo, by the way, and then switch out and then get a strike back with Tayuya. You cannot do that. So just keep that in mind. But the neutral combo is really good for going for damage too. So just to be very aggressive with your opponent, you don't even have to go for the button lock. You can just literally just cancel your combos with dokis, and you can just start off very aggressively. Like this is when this doki comes into play. Just go play aggressively. You don't even have to start off with an attack like that. You can just go for like a 50-50 chance or something like that, and just try to read your opponent. So yeah, that's what that neutral combo is used for. Air combo. Sometimes you're gonna have to go for air combos. Combos, obviously. Especially when you're using your doki. So if you're playing with your dokis, going for air combos is very useful because you can go for you can punch your opponent out of dashes, or you can just make your opponent like have to force like substitutions usually and go for more damage. So just so you could stop their dashes with combos, because that does work and it's really useful, and I catch people with that all the time. Usually, especially if they're very close to me. So yeah, the air combo is really good mix-up option. Obviously, after the air combo, you can go for a shuriken or just start up another doki. If you do feel like you want to do that, or change up your strategies, because you can change strategies with Tayuya. It's really cool how Tayuya plays. Air combo can help with that. So we went over her neutral combo and her air combo. Let's go with her square combos. So her square combos are not really that useful, so do not go for her square combos at all unless your opponent is in midair. If your opponent's in midair, try just going for the neutral combo. The neutral combo is the best. You cannot connect your projectile combos, so just keep that in mind too. You can only connect the square combo until like the universal, so that's only if you're switching out. So like I said, if your opponent is if your opponent's trying to guard, you can just switch out on the you can switch out on like the 5th hit of the universal before you start up the combo. So yeah, her square combos kind of suck, so do not go for them at all. But you can go for them and try to use the neutral combo, sometimes the up combo. The down combo can work too sometimes, but I usually don't recommend it. There is also a stun in the down combo too, so you can go for ultimate. But like I said, do not go for any of the square combos because they're not useful unless you're playing against puppets or if you're using them behind your dokis, because if you can always mix up your options with Tayuya behind her dokis. Her dokis allow you to be like her dokis allow you to mix your opponent. Helps you mix your opponent. all that sort of jizz. So yeah, her square combos, just I'm not gonna even go over them. Don't use them at all unless you're trying to like use them in conjunction with your dokis. And if you are, always go for up or neutral. Don't go for down unless you really don't want your opponent to really move that much. You can go for down combo, but I always prefer the neutral. Yeah, especially with strike back. So now that we got her projectile combos out the way, we're going to go over her tilt and her Chakra Shuriken projectile. So her tilt is really useful for getting out of combos. The reason why I say it's really good for getting out of combos is because while you're guarding a Tayuya, you can just do a tilt, and then you can cancel your tilt into any doki and go for a counter. It's really crazy. Yeah, so you can basically get out of any combo in the game with Tayuya. Pretty useful, pretty crazy. Always go for it. You can always use it as a mix-up option too. I really love her tilt. Just if you don't want to use the tilt, sometimes you can even wait, hold on. If you don't want to use the tilt, you can always cancel it if you don't feel like it. But you can do a tilt, and after it hits, you can like switch out to. You can just cancel any part of her tilt with the doki, and it's really crazy. I really like it. And if while you're calling out a doki, you can cancel your doki summons with a counter. So yeah, really good. Really good tilt. Really do love it. It also can cause strike back too. It's always good to use the tilt behind your dokis as well if your opponent's being very aggressive. And they're trying to go for dash-ins on Tayuya, you can always use that tilt. Even if they counter the tilt, you can just counter their counter with the tilt. So if you do happen to get the tilt and they counter the tilt, you can just cancel your doki. You can cancel it with a doki and counter their counter, so it's really cool. I do that sometimes. It's really useful. And yeah, that's the only reason why I be using this tilt. Usually to get out of combos, usually just to blast away my opponent when they're getting super aggressive. And especially even if you don't have a doki, dash cut too. If they dash into your dash cut, you can go for that tilt and then doki. Really cool, really love it. Tilt's really awesome, and yeah, that's why you want to use the tilt. So now her grab. So her grab's not really that useful, unless if you're trying to go for mix-up options. So if your opponent is guarding a lot, you can go for mix-up options with your doki into a grab. And then while they're in that down state, you can go for a shuriken, switch into your doki. So it's a damage into another doki. So you can always call out your dokis after that grab, or go for a shuriken after that grab. Really useful. Look, boom. What can you do? I can call out a doki right here in that situation, or throw a shuriken in that situation, finish him off, or something like that, right? Grabs are really useful. They're always very useful because they're unblockable. They're just unblockable. Your opponent cannot block them. And with your opponent blocking, or if you're just using them in conjunction with your dokis, just grabs are always very useful to go for. There's not a lot of useful grabs, but Tayuya just so happens to be a mediocre grab, and it's still very useful. Now we're gonna go over her chakra projectile. So Tayuya's chakra projectile is super useful because you can use this behind your doki, and you can use it in conjunction with cover fire if you're trying to catch your opponent. So if your opponent likes to play those running teams or those ranging teams, you can always, like I said, I have Rin Sasuke right there. Just because that ground projectile, you can use the cover fire in conjunction with Tayuya's chakra projectile to catch them, and it's super useful. So that chakra projectile, you can also just like go for chakra projectile ultimate if you really feel like it. Chakra projectile does have stun, so you can go for stuff like that. I think you can go for this too. Okay, no, you can't. You can't go into Chakra Projectile into Jutsu. I thought you can, but you can go into Chakra Projectile into Ultimate if you want, or a combo if you really feel like it. So Tayuya's combo projectile is just very good in general. I would say use it a lot if you're using it with your dokis, or if you're just trying to go for like sweet combos, or if you do have a Choji or a stun character, you can just go for stuff like the Chakra projectile or something like that, right? Really cool. I really love the Chakra projectile. You see how it hits your opponent first with it. You don't have to use cover fire with Tayuya, but cover fire with Tayuya is really powerful if you really feel like using it like that. Like I said, the best way of how I play Tayuya is with PTS Gaara, and PTS Gaara is not a cover fire. He's a charge guard. Yeah, and so you don't have to play Tayuya with cover fire, but it is really good to use Tayuya with cover fire because you can catch a lot of runners and you can stop a lot of jutsu switches. Really good Chakra projectile for combinations like those, especially with Temari, right? You can even start up like infinite combos. Not infinite combos, you can also start up like really cool combos with it in conjunction with your dokis. Like, let me see if I can do it. That's my opponent blocking too, so like cover fire Tayuya and that grounding projectile is really good. So yeah. So that's all of Tayuya's tools. We're gonna go over her awakening now. Alright, so Tayuya's awakening is not something really useful for going in, but just know that this awakening is really good for a support. So we're gonna go over everything Tayuya has to offer in her awakening. It's not really awakening you would want to go for. Like I said, I could just go for I can go for Choji if I really wanted to, or any other awakening that you set up Tayuya with that is better than this one. You can do that. But Tayuya is stronger in her regular form than awakening. This awakening is just only powerful if you're trying to like use it in like team awakening, or if you're trying to like use it as a support. That's only how it's powerful. But yeah, so let's go over her jutsu. So her jutsu, Demon Flute, Phantom Wave, Evil Melody. That jutsu can take out Chakra. So Tayuya can take out Chakra in awakening. Her jutsu just happens to be one of those ways to take out Chakra. Even when they're guarding, I think it also takes out Chakra too. So yeah, very useful for that. That jutsu can go through all jutsus in the game. So that's what I mean by like as a support like awakening. This jutsu can just literally go through all jutsus in the game. Your opponent cannot support dash it. Your opponent cannot do anything about it. If they try to charge at this jutsu or try to block it, they can't do anything about it. They can't even ultimate through it. This jutsu is just really good for, stopping like jutsu spammers and all that sort of jizz, right? You can't do that with Tayuya. If you jutsu switch and if you just jutsu switch with Tayuya, it's very bad because as you see, her little jutsu spreads out. The best way to use this jutsu is to either use the jutsu and wait, or if you wanna support combo it, you can support combo it, and it's very useful that way. So yeah, that's a very good jutsu. So now we're gonna take a look at her combos. So she I think it's so her first hit and her second hit can lead to infinite combos. So this is her second combo infinite. This is her one combo infinite. Go for the hollow steps. Go for those hollow steps if you feel like it. Like I said, you can just do the one hit. You know, it's just very good for catching up with your opponent if you're going into like Team Awakening, or if you're just trying to catch up to your opponent in general. You can play aggressive with this Awakening, but not something I would usually go for. I wouldn't really go into this Awakening unless I'm playing it as a support Awakening, because that's how this Awakening is used. Now we're going to look at her tilt. So her tilt's not that useful. It does give a debuff, which is really crazy. You can't cancel this tilt at all, so it's very bad. I wish she had actions in her Awakening. That way she would be even more useful, but she doesn't, so This tilt just goes for speed down. I wouldn't really go for this unless you're trying to finish up your your infinite combo. So if you're trying to finish up your infinite combo, you can just go for that. Tilt, if I could go for it. Usually it works. Let me see. Oh, I usually go for a dash extend. So, and they can't really run around that much. You can also do grabs. So her grabs actually give out different debuffs. It also gives down speed down. So I rather do that than the, and it hits all around too. So you can also dash after the grab, which is really cool. Some awakenings have that sort of property where you can just dash after you grab something. And Tayuya just happens to dash after a grab, but they can counter it, so just don't expect anything about it. Go for that. You can get a defense down. Like I said, this is a very good support. This is a very good support awakening, especially since it gives out debuffs. Those are like Karen debuffs too, so like it does more like damage. So yeah, not awakening that I would go for. She does have square projectile combos. It's the same thing. Just go for like the universal, or that's like the 5-hit, because they can just block after the 5th hit. So of your square button. So yeah, that's all I would say. About Tayuya's awakening. Nothing really much about it. And yeah, that's everything about Tayuya. Her special, like I said, she can also take out Chakra in Awakening too. Just, yeah, very good support awakening. I really love it. That's all I'm going to say. Just a very good support awakening. Wouldn't use it mainly. Always use Tayuya as a main without her awakening. And yeah. Now let's go into some combos with her. So the best combo for Tayuya, this is a tool you're going to be needing with Tayuya, and it's her infinite combo. There's plenty of ways to start the infinite combo. It's usually, like literally you can start it any sort of way. You can start it after Jutsu. You can start it after neutral combo, any of the dokis, whatever. Right? So I'm going to show you, except for her square combos. You can't do square combo infinites at all, or even air combo infinites. But you can do it neutral combo. So when you start off the neutral combo, like I showed you earlier, you can go for a button lock. So this is the infinite combo right here. Each doki, you're gonna be using your dokis too. So I'm gonna show you guys the loop. Oops, I started out wrong. So this is the loop right here. You can also just do that, but I wouldn't recommend doing that because the doki can just go fly right past you and can mess up your combo sometimes. So I would just use all dokis like that. So it's to this doki, to this doki. You can't go into this doki to this doki. It just doesn't work that way. It goes to this doki 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 to this doki, and then so on, so on, so on. This, just like how I showed you before on how to do it. So I'm gonna show you guys again. If you don't have a doki, you can always start it out like this, then go into here, or even look. Let me show you. You can also go into like neutral combo to the other doki. So you can go to this doki too. Go into this doki. Boom, and just keep going like that. Yeah, and that's Tayuya's infinite combo. That's all that's all I'm gonna show you. You can always do other stuff with Tayuya's dokis. Just mess around with Tayuya. I bet you will love her. I love Tayuya. She's my main character. She's like one of my most used characters on my player card and everything. I'm known for using the character Tayuya, and I'm always glad to help and show people how to use Tayuya and showcase on how she plays, which I'm about to do after I end off with saying, join the 𝓝𝓪4 Discord if you haven't already. I hope you guys enjoy the matches I'm about to show you. And yeah, before I show you guys my matches, I would like to tell you guys that I really love Tayuya, but she's not really. I feel like she's only a degenerate strategist. Well, and Tayuya and what's her name, and Temari too. Dash cut with Tayuya is kind of degenerate, but Tayuya without dash cut is kind of like skill based. So you do need a lot of skill when you play with Tayuya without dash cut. It's kind of insane. But yeah, I wish she gets unbanned one day. And just hopefully people would realize that Tayuya with dash cut is very broken. And she's kind of not really that broken without dash cut. Yeah. So, I hope you guys enjoy my fights, and yeah, peace.
てめえはよ 備完了だ。
問題ない。
手加減な。
俺に後を踏
いい気になる。
問題ない。
すぐに助けて。
隙だらけだ。
俺後を踏む。どかわしもいろる。あとを踏む。
バッチシ成功だな。バッチシ成功だな。
あとは頼む。あとは頼む。ここまでだ。俺あとは頼む。
成功だな。
まだここから
こっちだ。
あとは頼む。
いけよ。最終戦開始。準備完了だ。
あとは頼む。
バッチシ成功だな。